Okay, we're live. Happy Monday, everyone. You can see our faces today. I'm very nervous for that reason.
I don't know
Why
why.
are you nervous?
I don't know. You see
We're
my
always
face
on
all the
camera.
time. I'm like nervous, but
We're
welcome back.
vibing.
Yeah, we're vibing. We have no ballot news whatsoever. Absolutely zero ballot news.
Unless, does anybody
No.
know of anything? We don't know.
Everybody, let's make up something.
I mean,
Let's channel something here.
Trailer's
that's
coming
Tom
out tomorrow.
Holland video.
Wait, what's coming out tomorrow?
The trailer.
What?
I
Jerry.
would love that.
Avatar? Oh, wait, what?
We're just making stuff up.
Oh yeah.
Jerry, don't even.
Don't joke like that. That's not okay.
I'd
Right.
like to get a
you're-
new TikTok or something this week. That would be great.
Yeah.
But it's also Thanksgiving this week, so probably not.
What day of the week are we getting something?
Tomorrow.
And
It's been
Tomorrow.
random.
I feel like it's not out of the question because Thanksgiving, cornucopia,
Mm.
I can see
American commentary.
But there's
I'm just
not
saying-
really there's not a cornucopia though in Ballad. They just kind of
But
run for it.
that's a detail.
That's
The
very
people
true.
the people who don't know about ballad, they don't know there's no cornucopia in ballad. No one's going,
That's very true.
is there a cornucopia in ballad? They're asking, is Jennifer Lawrence in this movie? So the
I agree.
cornucopia it's just thematic, it's just their imagery. It's fine.
Yes. Well, on that note, today's a fun day. Well, I mean, these past few days have been fun because we're celebrating different anniversaries of the movies. So that's kind of
Oh.
exciting. Reminiscing on cringe photos that I used to have.
Yeah, everybody's posting their like Mockingjay Part 2, Mockingjay Part 1 theater photos. It's
Yes.
cute.
Yes. Which Mockingjay Part 1, as everybody has been saying, at least from what I've seen online, people are kind of appreciating it now, which makes me very happy because I think it is like, as much as I love Catching Fire, I think Mockingjay Part 1 especially is like my favorite. It's becoming more appreciated, I guess, as
Yay.
time goes on.
Part
It
one
makes
is
me happy.
underrated massively.
It's underrated.
Part one
Like I
deserves
see what
love
they were
too.
doing with it.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I just missed a lot of that marketing because
The marketing was so good. Jerry,
I was like
you know
studying
all about
abroad
this.
at that time, and so I think a lot of it just kind of went over my head, or like I missed a lot of things because I'm like, Mockingjay Part 1 marketing. What are you talking about? Like that wasn't
Oh,
it.
so good.
It was so great.
So good.
I remember
The
seeing
propaganda videos. Go ahead, AJ.
I remember seeing some of it at the time, but probably just like a little bit. And then I saw a lot of stuff retroactively, like probably between both Mockingjay movies and like
Mhm.
even after Part 2 came out. It was like still like in that general era, but definitely not in like leading up to the film. I don't know. It was
Mhm.
weird. It was like a weird like dark spot of marketing. It's like a lot of people saw it, and then a lot of people also just straight up have never seen it until like today. So
Yeah, I feel like I'm still seeing stuff that
yeah,
I never saw, like
What's-
things that Jerry
what's-
you posted, like these advertisements that then
What
BD
surprised you the
interrupts.
most? Like, what was something that you hadn't seen before that shocked you? Like, not shocked you, but like,
Well, like what Jerry
Gotcha.
posted today, the advertisements,
part,
like there's
though?
one for a car or something, and then
Oh, yeah,
BD's
it's so
interrupting.
good.
I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't see any of these before. I feel like all I saw were the Capitol like propaganda videos with Joanna and
Yeah.
PETA and Snow. That's like all I remember seeing.
I feel like I saw that car commercial and I thought it was like an edit. Like I didn't think it was like a real like
it looks like
officially
an edit.
thing
Yeah.
until like way later. Because I saw it again today from Jerry's post and I was like, I'm reacting as though I've never seen this before, but at the same time, I definitely have. And I think I just saw it like on Tumblr or something, and I was like, ah, that's cool. And like just scrolled, assuming it was like an edit and not being like, wait, they actually did this. So I don't know. But like I loved all the collaborations with the YouTubers.
That's
And
my
that's-
favorite.
Mhm.
That's something that I found in 2020 in like lockdown, because I had nothing better to do than just to go on like the deepest like dives on the internet, of course, right? And I found all these things and I was like, where was this? Like, what is that? Where did it come from?
Yeah, I never saw those at the time
Ollie.
either.
I'm trying to post so not more people join us.
I saw the phone out. I was like, what are you doing?
I'm just
I have to
taking a
say,
picture of everyone.
I love seeing everybody's faces.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Gabby too. Like, I mean, I've never been
Glad
on video
Glad
with
to
you,
be
so
here. Yeah, yeah.
it's great.
Oh, Gabby! Our queen.
Yay!
Yeah.
We're rocking the backwards hat. I
Mhm,
feel you.
always. Yeah, same energy. I get it.
But
Oh, okay.
Yo, let's go. That's what's
I found
up.
like I have like a little collection of hats that I used to wear all the time. And then I moved back home to New York, and of course in the move things get misplaced or put in weird boxes, and I just found them 2 days ago. I'm so excited.
oh my gosh,
Did it feel like
AJ.
Christmas?
Yeah, a little bit. I was like, some of them I forgot I had, and that's even
Mhm.
better because you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is revolutionary. But yeah.
AJ, you're also rocking the backwards hat.
Oh yes.
It's the trend.
It was a staple of my everyday appearance for a while, and then it just ended. I shaved my head and then it just looked strange, so I stopped wearing them, but we're back. Anyway,
Anyway, should we get started with our chapters tonight?
Oh,
Probably should.
Let's
they're
have
so
some fun.
upsetting.
Come on.
They're
Dun,
so
dun, dun.
upsetting.
They're so
I'm gonna be honest.
fun.
The first chapter is like, it's fine, but then the second chapter is like, I'm glad that I'm on Lexapro. Like, this is very
Stop.
depressing.
There's also just so much that's,
Stop.
I don't know, different.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Also hard to follow what's going on because we don't
Mhm.
have it represented visually in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And- and this
a lot
is-
happens. I
This
forgot
is
that.
it's the main, like, honestly, I wish that a lot of this would have happened in the movie, but like, I get why they didn't do it like visually, because it is kind of weird. Like these were the two chapters, like when I first read the book, and when they announced that it was going to be a movie, I was like, I can't really imagine it being on film, if that makes sense. Because it's so bizarre. Like, it just kind of happens out of nowhere. There's just like weird things that happen. But I think like what they did with the movie, I think it's like, it's good. It's a good, like, they condensed it a lot.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
But-
I think they did a good job. But
They did a
there's
good
definitely
job.
things I miss reading this. I'm like,
I-
oh, I wish
listen,
that would
I
have made
would
it
love
in.
I'd love a good street that just opens up and follows people. Like,
Oh
I mean,
yes.
That
That's
one
all
I
I
don't know
want.
about.
it's just like the bean that just like melts people's skin. Like, come on, it's a great time.
Well, we start chapter 23 with Katniss shooting the hot dog lady.
AKA
The
potentially
sausage.
Rebel Wilson.
Right.
I can't get over that.
That clip.
Which I was about to say, y'all saw the clip, right?
Yeah, because
Like,
we found it
was-
afterward.
I wasn't crazy. That was the thing that happened. Like,
That
they
was
filmed
weird.
it.
I would love to see how that actually was meant to look, because from far away,
Exactly.
it was a little off.
And like the lady just going, ah!
With like a subtle
The
pause.
sound. It was so strange.
It's so strange, but it's
And,
so
and like,
good. I
what
would
was she
love to review it.
wearing?
I don't know.
It looked so over the top. But
But, like,
I mean,
that's what-
capital.
It was very capital, and that's kind of, we're gonna get to it a little bit later, but that's what my biggest gripe of the movie is that they didn't disguise themselves in like capital. I mean, like, Katniss wore like a thing with a hood, and Gale wore a thing with a hood, but like here they went with like makeup and like wigs.
Yeah, and like right away,
heels
all
and
of them
stuff.
are they go into this lady's apartment and they're putting
Yeah.
on like capital disguises right away, like the whole group.
Which I've read interviews of people that have seen Mockingjay Part 2 that have not read the book, and they have that same gripe of like, why didn't they disguise themselves more? And I'm just like, they did it in the book. They did it in the book. I promise you, they did it in the book. So it's
Mhm.
kind of maddening that they didn't do it, but I guess I get it. It cuts down time, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
also, like would it be ridiculous looking if they were
It would
wearing
be
like all this makeup?
It would be
I don't
ridiculous
know.
looking, but like at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like I think it's realistic at the same time. Like I would disguise myself, like how she writes this whole chapter, like plus the next chapter. I would be terrified to go out in public. Like I would want to disguise myself as much as possible, even if it is like a ridiculous outfit. I think it's very realistic in this story of ridiculousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they raid that woman's closet and her husband's closet.
Or lover.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't
Whoever
know.
it is.
For some reason, when you said that, I just thought of Beacon's Closet here in New York.
I used to work for Bacon's Closet.
There you go. And I just felt like, and I immediately was like, you could find stuff in there to like really disguise yourself. So like it checks out.
The lack of wigs, though, there are no wigs there, but everything else you
feel
can
like-
find.
I feel like you could find like a fur coat and then just put that on your head and call it a day.
Hmm.
I'm saying it's possible. Maybe that's a challenge when I need to like do one day. Anyway, carry on.
Then we meet Tigress.
Mhm.
Woohoo!
Which that
Oh no.
exactly, Rob. I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Okay. We'll wait for some internet, I guess. It
Please,
sounded
sir,
like an
can I
evil
have some-
laugh.
You sound like a capital mutt.
True.
I feel like it hit me when reading this how old Tigress has to be, like
Mhm.
85 plus.
Yeah.
Oh,
it-
yeah.
Because the
This whole
movie,
thing
it doesn't seem like
rethink-
that, but
it made me rethink Tigress in general as a character, because like
Mhm.
I hadn't read this part since reading Ballad, and
Mhm.
it honestly made me really sad that like what is the point that she was like, okay, let me be okay with my cousin dying.
Mm.
So clearly like she had to have gone through some stuff
Mm-hmm.
that Snow did to make her feel this way.
Yeah.
And also just her character in general, where she's like, Katniss was like, oh, it's creepy that she wants to eat raw meat, when like in Ballad, always goes back to Ballad. She mentions that she like wants to eat raw meat and all that stuff. So like what's the tipping point here? Like what happened? What's
We
the
need to
breaking
know.
point?
Yeah.
I want to
That's
know.
why there's gonna be a second book. Like,
Mhm.
I agree.
yeah.
It's the
There has
biggest
to be.
plot hole of Ballad, where it was like, why even make Tigress Snow's cousin if that's not gonna be addressed? Like that's like the one
Yeah.
piece of information we have about Tigress and Mockingjay is that she hates Snow. And then in Ballad, it's like they're cousins. But that's all we're gonna tell you. That's all, folks. Like what? No.
It's interesting that things went south only like fairly recently though, because Katniss remembers her being a stylist in the games and looking a lot more normal in her perspective. So
Like with the
that was
Capitol's
probably
perspective.
like the 64th games, like 10 years before.
Yeah.
So it's only been recently that Tigress was kind of kicked out, I guess.
Mhm.
And it also just goes to show like how the extremes of like the body modification that they do in the Capitol, and like I think it's interesting that Katniss is just like there's only so much you can go with like the whiskers, where she's like I've seen people in the Capitol with whiskers, but nobody as long as her, and she seems to like go with the character of just like being a cat or a tiger, I guess.
Mhm.
Which like in Ballad, she's just like a sweet girl. Like she's kind of chilling out. Like she has some weird, creepy things about her, but overall, she's kind of normal. It's just like the juxtaposition of like her in Ballad versus here. It's what happened? What happened to her?
We need to know.
We need to
Art
know. I
school
want a
trauma
Tigress
is the-
story. Was that?
I said art school and trauma is what happened.
Honestly.
Well, then they reflect on all the people that Katniss kills. She goes through and she's like, to believe them dead is to accept I killed them. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah, well,
you did.
Katniss
so.
did.
I don't.
You win some, you lose some.
I don't think that she did though. At the same time, it's like
They did agree to go.
yeah, they agreed to go. It's listen. If I were on Katniss's team, if I were on Squad 451, I would trust.
I would have
Katniss,
turned back.
Honestly,
I would have
Re-
turned
I
back.
mean,
I'm
in
Jackson, so
hindsight-
I'm like,
in
we're
hindsight,
we're going back.
I'm just gonna
in
stay
hindsight, I
here.
would have turned back, but like not knowing, I've just been like, yeah, she's been this famous figure of the Hunger Games, and like I trust her. So like whatever, I'll just do whatever she says. So like in hindsight, no, I would not. No, I
Yeah.
would have just ran away immediately. Which we will learn.
I feel like the book has been establishing though, like up to that point, that she's not really. She doesn't know what she's doing.
No, she
I don't
doesn't.
know. I feel like the
She's
second
17.
half of Mockingjay is kind of like making a point that Katniss doesn't know what she's doing. Like she's the complete opposite of like this superhero person that you would like follow into battle. And I feel like she's kind of making these choices for selfish reasons. I don't know. I just don't. I feel like I'm
Mhm.
looking at Katniss's choices here at the end with like completely different perspective than when I first read it. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I'm very
No.
upset with Katniss, but I mean, she is 17, so like
Yeah.
I
was
don't
gonna
blame
say-
her, but
It's like I feel when I first read Mockingjay, I was 15, I think. And so Katniss is like, just a few years older than me at that point. And so I feel like it didn't jump out at me as much. And then rereading it as an adult, I was like, girl, you're not thinking things through here. I get you. I do.
mhm.
But I don't know about that. And I feel like maybe it's like it's only quote unquote excusable because she's a 17-year-old and that she's not also, and even though she's been through a lot of stuff, she's also not like a real deal like lifelong trained soldier like they are in 13,
Right.
where
Yeah.
like they live and breathe strategy, and she's just like
Yeah.
she's just action, like that
Mhm.
song, whatever. So,
And see, like, and even the people who are strategic, they're like, she makes a point in the book to show that they're not clean. And I think it's more so of she's like purposefully not setting Katniss on a pedestal to show like she's not this perfect hero, to show what war does, that no one comes out as
Mhm.
this like superhero. Like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And the people who have the experience, who's like now at 17, they're just as bad as Snow is, honestly. So, or it's, you can say it's not as black and white. Yeah.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
The whole thing
Yeah.
is messed up.
Yep.
Give her a break.
I mean, I just could not imagine being a 17-year-old and being faced with decisions like this. I mean, I would run away. I don't even know what I would do in this situation. I mean, I remember reading it. I think AJ, like you said, I was a youngin, as they say down in Tennessee. I was probably like 14 or 15 when I read Mockingjay. And I still thought that Katniss was like an older person and was like, oh, like, this is just what adults do, blah, blah, blah. But then like, as I got older, I was like, oh, wait, no, she was just a kid. Like, she was not even a fully fledged adult at this point in making these decisions. I could not even imagine being in a situation like that. It's awful, awful.
Yeah.
And what page are we on at this point?
I'm on like 325.
Mhm.
We missed some. I feel like we skipped ahead from some really good points, though.
All right, let's go back. Roll it back.
I would like. I'm on 319 right now. Where she's talking about Tigress, and she's like, that this is where stylists go when they've outlived their use, to sad themed underwear shops where they wait for death out of public eye. I stare at her face, wondering if her parents actually named her Tigress, inspiring her mutilation, or if she chose a style and changed her name to match the stripes, which we know from Ballad that her name was Tigress. And I feel like she could just kind of morphed into that sort of caricature. God, I really want to know what happened to her.
Mhm. Yeah, on 320, Katniss describes her as, this woman was the embodiment of capital shallowness.
Oh yes.
How does that
Yeah.
happen?
That's hard to read because Katniss is also an unreliable narrator, right?
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah,
is
she is.
her
That's fair.
perception of this person, like
Yeah.
not knowing who she is or what her
Yeah.
story has been.
Which is
So-
totally because like of
But
what
it's also
she's through. And then Tigress, who is like extremely modified and like even more so for even capital standards.
yeah. And
Fair.
it's interesting how like Snow let her be a stylist in the game for like a certain amount of time, and I guess she just kind of overdid it with the whole aesthetic of becoming a tiger, and shunned her out, and she just kind of like went overboard with it. I don't know. Which also kind of seems just kind of gross to me. I don't
I-
know. It's gross. It's gross.
Ay.
Where's our tiger's backstory? I mean, we got more of it in Ballad, but like, come on.
This is like it's like a Tigress. I don't know what it is about Panem's, the Hunger Games stories, whatever, and like not even secondary characters. What are these like fourth level characters? And
Honestly.
I'm just like feral about like creating headcanons about them and stuff. So like, and it's like they're almost shrouded in mystery when in reality it might just be like Suzanne didn't think that far ahead, and I'm just like there's a whole thing going on here. But
Who thinks that she thought this far ahead though? Do you all think that Tigress is just like a runaway character or I guess throwaway character that she just kind of put in and did not have any plans for it? And when Ballad came out, she was like, okay, let's add this back in? Or do you think that
I don't know.
I
I
don't
think she
know.
focused so much on her that she might have had an idea of her history. I don't
I
think there was
agree.
anything concrete, but like she focuses on Tigress a lot more than I remember. And just like the point to like point out how much she hated Snow, I feel like is a very important part of it.
Yes. And that's what bothers me about the whole thing. It's just like what made her hate Snow so much. Because they seem, I mean, even throughout the entire book of Ballad, they seem to get along so well.
Mhm.
Lies.
Just what happened? I want to know that rift. What happened?
I think if she knew, there would be more of a hint that we would be seeing now
Yeah.
in the book. It just doesn't feel, I don't know, something still feels off when I feel like I'm reading about Tigress and Mockingjay. Like it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it really connects to me.
Well, also
But
because it's probably because she wrote this and then decided to write Ballad. I think that she just kind of connected the two, honestly. I think that Tigress is a last minute thing for Ballad.
To me, you
that's
know,
what I
it,
think too.
it reminds me of like how Gale was supposed to be Katniss's cousin, and then they changed that because they're like, but a love interest would be kind of fun. And it feels a little bit like in that genre of how are these characters related quickly? Like, you know, I feel like maybe she did have a vague idea of like clearly, you know, there was some history between Tigress and Snow and there was a rift and like that led to what we see in Mockingjay, but I don't know that she had it fully fledged out while
Yeah.
writing that in Mockingjay and then sort of retroactively maybe try to fill in those blanks, but then still didn't really fill them. So like, I don't know. You know, it's like, I still wonder, like I'd like to think that at the point that she wrote Ballads, she knows more about those two characters and their relationship, but then that she didn't include it feels also like, but did you really
If
think
she's never going to tell us, then what's the point?
what was the point? Yeah.
Exactly. Come on, Suzanne. Come on,
She will
Suzanne.
tell us. She will. I have
Or-
faith.
Yes, she will.
Yes.
Or it's like she was maybe banking on the fact that like people are going to be so focused on Snow and everything else that happens in Ballad that like by the end of it she's like, who's going to be like, what about Tigress? And then it's all the rest. I don't know.
I think she's a genius and she has everything planned out, every single thing.
Now I can get on board with
Yeah.
that, Jerry.
I just think when you decide to write a prequel, however many years later, like she couldn't have had all this planned out. Like
Yeah.
I see that all for the trilogy, and I think it's like genius in the trilogy. But I don't know. I need more things explained.
Ripper.
Yeah.
Let's just invite her on the podcast and ask her.
There we go.
Oh,
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
God.
problem solved.
Good Chase, isn't she your aunt?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's busy lately. Y'all don't
Holidays.
deserve anything for Tigress until we get a backstory on Ripper. So
Oh my
Sorry.
goodness.
until I know how she got to sell alcohol, we ain't talking.
I love that interview of her where she's like sitting in a living room kind of area with like a bunch of like fans who like read the first book.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
do something like that
Oh,
again.
no.
Like a little fireside chat.
With us.
Yes.
And get
With
better
us.
fans.
Oh my
because
god.
some of them were like, would you think District 3 is a career district? Like, who vetted these kids?
I mean, come on.
No,
like, all the
honestly,
books
the
like
worst
weren't out,
question.
right? So
It was embarrassing.
You know,
I was
Literally the
embarrassed.
worst question.
I only want to be lenient to that because that person might have a really elaborate headcanon about District 3 and wanted some kind of validation. Because you already
AJ
know where I'm
asking an Ovaria a question.
I was gonna
People are
I was
like,
like,
why
I
is she
need to
asking
know.
about that?
like I would absolutely ask her about that. I mean, there's tons of things I would want to ask her about, but then I guess it would depend on the context of like, you know, how censored does my question have to be? Or is this like I'm in like a room with Suzanne and it's just us, like, because that's different, you know, like the question then changes. But then if it's like a scholastic thing, like, ask Suzanne anything, I'd be like, an Abaria. And then they'd be like, what? But you know, I need to know. So it's my shot. I'm going to take it. So
As you should.
that person has really elaborate District 3 headcanons and just needed to know how to write their fan fictions. I don't know.
There we go.
Anything's possible.
At the same time, a lot of y'all have very good Hunger Games backgrounds, I have to say.
What, my
With
blank
your little-
shelves? What are you talking about?
Not you, Holly. Emily and AJ especially. I'm jealous.
Thanks.
Got my
Very
wait.
jealous.
Hasn't always looked
Uh,
like this.
We got PETA in the house.
Yes.
And we got PETA again over here.
Yeah.
And Finnick is on the other side, but he's sleeping right now.
Bring out the Hunger Games props. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't have a baseball cap, but I have an Avox mask up here. I can just throw on.
I have an Effie Barbie.
There we
you can
go.
grab.
Just put it in the background.
It's been a
Let me
long
do
time.
it.
Perfect. Decor. Oh, it's Buttercup.
Buttercup.
Been a long time since the King's been here.
Oh, look.
The Effie
Perfect.
Barbie.
It's kind of
So
cursed.
anyway,
The head.
Mockingjay.
I can't. That's so scary.
We're all just
She's
feeling our
terrifying. Look at her.
I can't. Oh my God.
That's
gosh.
Mockingjay.
Well, if no one else has anything else, I mean, we get to the end of the chapter, kind of, where Gail and Peeta start talking. I don't know if anyone had anything before that.
No, there's so much more to this. I hate this because like
I'm like,
there's so
we're
much more to
working
this
through it so
chapter.
slow.
there's so much more to this chapter. There's so much more to this chapter. It's so
Manners.
good. It's such a good
Okay,
chapter.
Ronnie, take
Like,
the lead. I'm
okay,
just sitting
so
back till
I-
chapter 24.
I did not realize how much I loved this chapter until I started rereading it.
There's a lot.
There's definitely a lot. Effie, she agrees. There's a lot. And now I have to go back because I'm put on the spot here.
You have the floor.
I hate being put on the spot. I mean, the whole description of Tigress's shop, where she's really not trusting Tigress, and the whole her putting stitches in Gale's neck, which is very upsetting. As much as I don't like Gale,
He could
gross.
take it. It's fine.
He can take it. Also, like, I hate him, so like,
It's
whatever.
fine.
It's fine. But just like how trapped that she feels, I love that. I don't want to say I love, but the feeling that she gets where she just feels trapped in this, it's very scary, and it just kind of put things into perspective where I was just like, oh God, like I could not imagine being in a situation like that. It's especially as a 17-year-old. I don't even know what I would do in that situation.
Yeah. Just a
Um,
blind trust she has to have.
But also in
For-
general,
for
just like,
Tigress.
taking down the government, just taking down the government. That's spooky. I could never do that. Like, 17-year-old girl taking down the government. That's a lot.
But she really isn't. I mean, like, what are they doing at this point? I don't even know why they're still planning on going after Snow at this point in the book. Like,
She just wants to kill him.
almost
She just wants
everybody's
to kill him.
dead. Like, the rebels are about to come in and destroy, everything.
She
and-
doesn't know that though. She doesn't know that.
But they're watching
She doesn't
the
know that.
clips on TV, right?
It
I
reminds me a
mean, yeah,
lot
eventually.
of Game of Thrones and Arya with her list of names and just like stubbornly making her way through the list just because that's all the plot line they gave her. That's a different topic for a different
Which that really
day.
annoys me too. So yeah, it feels very similar.
Like, we're doing this because it's what we're doing. Like, okay.
Like, why are we doing this? Yeah, that's where I'm at with this right now.
Yeah. Well, then they talk about the possibility of like this part makes me so mad. Where Katniss is just like, they all go to sleep and then they wake up and she's just like, I kill Snow. Remember, I kill Snow. And they're all just like, all right, whatever. And they bring out their own plans of like killing Snow, where they're just like, I don't know what you're gonna do here. And Katniss is just like,
You
let
guys
me
know that
surrender
meme?
myself. Wait, what?
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Katniss brings up the point where she's just like, let me bring myself out so that Snow can capture me and then maybe publicly execution me in front of the steps of the palace. It's fine. It's just like, what?
Gale is for it. He's like, that doesn't sound
Yeah,
too
because
bad.
of course Gale is for it, because Gale's an awful person.
He's like, maybe we
course
don't
he's
do
gonna
that
be for
first,
it.
though. You know,
No, I hate
we'll try
him. I
something
hate
else
him.
first.
Hate him.
Y'all know that meme that's like, it's like an old lady with like a walker and it's like she has a speech bubble and then you have like a younger woman has like a
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yes.
grandma. No. And I just thought of like, it's Katniss. She's like, I kill Snow. And it's like, yeah, okay, Katniss. Sorry. That's just what popped into my mind. I have to make that now.
No, it's so true. Please send it to the group. I want to see that. Also the fact that just like the Capitol citizens in general are just like, the fact that they're in it now, and when Katniss looks out the window and just like, oh, stuff is happening. Stuff is about to go down. It's very scary. This whole part, like this chapter and the next chapter, I think is the most nerve-wracking parts of Mockingjay.
The
I
one
hate it.
line that like stuck out to me is they're watching the television and the Capital News like does a little piece on the woman, the hot dog lady.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And her makeup is
And
is
they
recently
redo her
being redone.
makeup.
Mhm.
And it's such a throwaway line. Like she just says that she's just like, yeah, they redid her makeup.
It reminds me of the
disturbing.
District 13 propaganda pieces where Katniss is
Oh.
talking about how she has to look like disheveled, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
And then Peeta decides to be emo, and it's like, keep my handcuffs on. I like to feel the pain.
Poor Peeta.
Jeez.
It helps him
Listen,
focus.
We were all in the 7th grade once. It's fine. I feel that. And then Gale and Peeta have that conversation.
Which is
Ugh.
so
Just
stupid.
very annoying.
Hate
Oh,
it.
yeah,
So
Eclipse tent
stupid.
conversation.
Yeah,
Right?
it's so bad.
Pick the one that she can't live without. And it's just like, she can pick anybody else. She can pick literally anybody else. She's a person with her own autonomy. Like,
Hmm.
she doesn't have to pick Peeta or Gale. It's fine.
Or
she can pick
anyone.
anybody else.
She
Literally.
could also like, at this point, I remember thinking like she might just not pick any of them because these two are tiring at the end of the day.
True.
Exactly.
That's what I hoped
Katniss
happened.
might like one. What was that, Jerry?
I kind of wish that happened, that she didn't pick anyone.
Same.
I can't agree, but
I don't think that she should have picked anybody, honestly. I would have been happy with her not picking a single person out of this. I mean, I'm glad that she ended up with Peeta, but
I don't want her to be alone though.
I don't want to be alone. Yeah. It's the only
And
characters
her
that
and
we know,
Peeta,
so,
they just understand each other
yeah.
so well.
Yeah,
And like what
Gail
they've been through.
Gail clearly does not understand her at all.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
she
'cause-
doesn't understand Gale. Like,
that's
I
true.
mean,
yeah, they keep talking
Yeah.
past one another.
And then Gale says Katniss will pick whoever she thinks she can't live without, which I'm just like, ew. And then chapter 24 happens, which is I would like to say the most consequential chapter of the entire book.
Mhm.
Yikes.
I do like that Katniss says at the end of the first paragraph, at the moment, the choice would be simple. I can survive just fine without either of them.
Yes,
She's
Mhm.
like, forget
go.
y'all.
yes.
That's right.
Which like good, do it. She could live without them.
Hmm.
Oh, but it gets dark.
Yeah.
So who wants to start with this the most depressing chapter?
Well, the rebels are getting farther into the capital. They're like sending cars down to
Yes,
activate the
So
pods.
smart.
I wish that was in the movie. I love that. I forgot about that whole situation where they had like the ABC line and like they would send a car down and then the rebels would infiltrate and then like 20 of them would just blow up because of flower pot.
I think just seeing more of like the actual war itself might have been good in the
It would've
movie.
been
Like
so
I get
good.
it's a story about Katniss and like we're staying with her, but
It was two
it
parts.
makes it
They
kind
could've
of
done
almost
it.
seem like it didn't really even happen.
Yeah. They could have done it. It was two parts.
I would have liked another montage like how they did in part 1 with like blowing up the dam and all the people in 7 blowing up the trees. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just a quick little like boom, 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 like all across the capital. This is what we're doing, you know?
Yeah. Ugh, but when a group of 20 rebel soldiers follows them, they're blown up to bits by rows, potted rose bushes in the flower shop. Oh, it's disturbing. And it just gets more disturbing.
It
Mhm.
does.
Because Suzanne is just like, let's not hold back here. Let's
It
just
does
keep
not let
going."
up.
It doesn't.
Only
This
gets
whole
worse.
chapter, I wish that I understand why they didn't do it in the movie. But it's, I think, one of the most impactful moments in the book. Just like how insane it is. If anyone would like to add.
I mean, I like how she includes that there are so many capital refugees and none of the like, most wealthy capital citizens are letting any of them into their homes. And
Right.
they
Yeah.
have to be like forced to let people in.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, and
you could
it's-
see that nowadays.
Mhm.
That would be definitely
Yeah.
something that would happen now.
It's so wild because it's not even, I mean, for the United States, like it's not even across state lines. Like this is within the same little area, like the same
Yeah.
Mhm.
city or town, you can say, and they're still not. They have to be forced to be kind to the people and they live in the same city with. Like, jeez.
So then they're pretty much forced to head out because Tigress's shop might be a place where
Raided.
refugees have to be let in. So they can't really risk it anymore staying there. Oh, and then they mentioned some on 334. They find out there's an unfortunate incident where a crowd beat to death a young man who resembled PETA.
Oh,
That's so sad.
it's awful. I wish they
Yeah.
would have kept that in the movie. It's
Apart
It
from
just
some
shows how-
obviously bleached curls, he looked about as much as like PETA as I do, says Katniss.
Jeez.
What a
Just,
read.
like, just going crazy.
it just shows how mass hysteria kind of takes root in like
Mhm.
major situations like that.
Hmm.
It's awful.
Yeah, this gives me ballad vibes for that scene whenever can't remember the character's name, but he's cutting off the maid's leg or something like that.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah.
Nora
yes.
Price.
Yeah, yeah. You're right, yeah.
And then we learn that the rebels are only 4 blocks away from them. And Katniss gets really anxious about that. She starts cleaning, and I'm like, oh, anxious cleaning. Yeah, I relate.
Yeah,
I relate as well.
yeah, she goes from feeling out of control to leaning into what she can control. It was really, really funny.
She's just like more scared of the rebels than the peacekeepers, which
Mhm.
I find very interesting.
When I first read the book, I remember I was maybe like 12 or 13 when I read this book. AJ myself here. I was more terrified of the rebels than I was of like the Capitol because of like how much they were advancing and stuff, and just kind of how unpredictable they were. And I didn't fully realize like how much of a realistic situation that was. Until I grew up more and I understand like why they did the things that they did.
I feel like because the Capitol is like, they don't hide who they are. Like the Capitol,
Yeah.
it's very clear where they stand. It's very clear how they feel about stuff. It's very clear how they treat people that are in their like, that are whatever, in their control, right? Like we know what the Capitol does. But 13 is way more subtle with the way that they do things. I think for me also, like when she finds her prep team in 13, and like that
Yeah.
for me even was just like a whoa, like that was like a, they're not that much better and they hide it, which is actually in some ways maybe worse. I mean, they're both like flawed and terrible and in different ways, and like ultimately like which is worse, it's kind of hard to gauge that, but it's just like you know, not everything's black and white. And one of my favorite quotes from American Hustle, it's extremely gray. Ugh. And the fact that they all wear gray, anyway. But yeah, for me, it was just like the Capitol, you know where they stand. 13 is like, you kind of know where they stand in the sense that you know that they're against the Capitol. But after that, where are they? Much harder to differentiate.
Yeah.
And then we go to 336 where
Gail,
get
she
kinda
won't give
bad.
me the satisfaction of taking me alive.
Yeah.
Mm.
You thought.
You thought wrong.
Yeah.
You thought wrong. We get the hanging tree motif again.
Mhm.
They start dragging Gale away. This whole scene is really good. I think they did it really well in the movie, but I think in the book it's a lot more impactful.
Wait,
For
which part?
Gale.
Gale? When he gets taken?
Yeah. Where they were like
Which-
the thought of peacekeepers. It's not when they start dragging Gale away, but she said the thought of peacekeepers dragging Gale away starts playing the tune in my head again. Are you coming to the tree? And then she said, "Say Capita." I say in a strained voice. I reach out and hold the fingers over the pill. No one will ever be there to help you. It's very sad.
Yeah.
The way that she just like gives him the nightlock pill.
I like it more in the movie, I think, because he has that line, or like next time we see each other, it's going to be a different world.
That
Which
part kills me.
it's
That part
actually,
kills
it
me.
seems like it's kind of taken from the last time in the book that Prim and Katniss see each other,
Yeah.
where she says, like, next time we see each other, we're going to be free of him,
Mm.
which they didn't really
So
get
true.
a conversation saying goodbye in the movie, but Peeta and Katniss do. So they're in the crowd.
Which page are we on?
I'm on 338. Katniss
Oof.
and Peeta have just said goodbye.
Hmm. Makes me so sad. Like, I just remember having such a visceral reaction to reading this for the first time. Um, I was shook. It's very good.
I like that it's snowing. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I mean, once it gets kind of gory, I feel like that adds to the gruesomeness and the horror
Snow
of it.
lands, snow lands on top.
Snow lands on top.
Ah.
That's what they say. Mm.
And then we get the girl in the lemon yellow coat, which is way more impactful in the
most disturbing
book. I
thing I've
think.
ever
Oh wait, did you
read.
have something, AJ?
I just wanted to say it's not anything serious. I'm sorry. It just the snow lands on top thing, but snow melts, and Katniss is the girl on fire. That's all. I just made that.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was
Fire melts
good.
ice.
Wow. Mm. I'm gonna have to think about that.
But the girl in the yellow coat, I know they filmed that scene in Mockingjay Part 2. I mean, we all saw the scene of her screaming over her dead mother's body.
Do you think they filmed it like where the girl died?
Dies. Yeah, they did. They filmed it and then they cut it.
I feel like that's too bad.
It's too bad.
I'm
but
just saying.
It's bad, but like the first, I'm gonna be honest. When I first read that scene, it made me nauseous because I was so disturbed by it.
It's awful.
But I wish they would have. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. But I remember when I went and saw the movie for the first time, I was like expecting it, and then it didn't happen, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
here we
maybe
go.
that's why it
Okay,
didn't
fine.
like hit as hard, just because
It
because it's
didn't.
awful in the movie too.
It
but
is.
you know what happens as a book reader, and so to not see it, it just feels a little different.
I mean, that's one part of whatever the heck happens in the next scenes. I mean, it just goes.
It just keeps
insane.
going, and there's so many things then that are terrible that also don't make it in the movie. But
yeah.
Oh, one thing I thought was interesting. I'm on page 340. So all the gunfire like is going off, and they're trying to run to the sides of the street, and they're like up against the walls, and they're just going through like racks of like, I don't know, clothes and stuff, things for sale. And there's like they go behind a rack of framed photos of snow. I just thought that was interesting. I don't know, that was a visual that
No, that's a very interesting visual.
didn't really have before. Just thinking that I'm like, oh, there's like framed pictures of snow. Do like people like buy these and like I don't know.
Just
put them in their houses or
this whole
like
section
North
is so
Korea.
upsetting.
Yeah, that was just like a connection. Yeah, North Korea that I made that I don't know, I didn't have before.
And Katniss says on 341, everything that moves is a target. People shoot reflexively, and I'm no exception. Heart pounding, adrenaline burning through me. Everything is my enemy except Gale. It's like ew.
Ew.
There's nothing to do but move forward, killing whoever comes in our path. Screaming people, bleeding people, dead people everywhere. As we reach the next corner, the entire block ahead of us lights this part.
This whole rest of this page I have like underlined.
It's wild. Like what?
Insane. The entire block ahead of us lights up with a rich purple glow. We backpedal, hunker down to the stairwell, and squint into the light. Something's happening to those illuminated by it. We're assaulted by ... What? A sound? A wave? A laser? Weapons fall from their hands. Fingers clutch their faces, and blood sprays from all visible orifices. Eyes, nose, mouths, and ears. In less than a minute, everyone's dead, and the glow it vanishes. What?
Yeah.
What
but
is that?
Okay,
Definitely
but
rated
that
R.
next line too, I grit my teeth and run, leaping over the bodies,
Oh,
feet
God.
slipping in the gore, and I was like,
Oh God, it's
what?
disturbing. And it's that's the part of Mockingjay that I think that like really stuck to me was all this violence and gore, which I think the movie didn't do it, but like I think they did a good job with it. But at the same time, I want that because it's just so disturbing.
They definitely did
And I
as
want
good a job as they could to keep it PG-13.
PG-13 exactly.
And also
But-
not weird. I feel like it would have been like weird and like CGI'd in and just kind of
No, it's weird. It's really weird, and like it's something that you can't really imagine.
Yeah.
My sister, when I made her read Mockingjay, she's not a big fan of the movies or the books really, but I had her read the trilogy, and she looked at me after she finished Mockingjay, and she was like, "I couldn't imagine half of that happening."
Mhm.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, the skin melting off and like the street swallowing people. Like that could not happen. Like I couldn't imagine it. And I get it.
I feel like
But-
yeah, kind of thing that like works well when you read it because it's your imagination and like
Mhm.
even if you don't have a
Yeah.
full picture painted, it's like whatever is coming to mind is like just awful. And then I think translating that to screen would either be like straight up traumatic or goofy. Like
Yeah, you
Mhm.
definitely don't want to take the
Yeah.
risk of a weird moment of CGI or some, throwing you off, taking you
it's-
out of that moment.
'cause I
Yeah.
feel like some of these things in the world of pandemic, like the technology is more advanced than where we are in present day. And so that's where I feel like sometimes, it's like this makes sense when you read it because you're like, ah, yeah, in the future they definitely have a way of doing this and this makes sense, whatever. But then like seeing it, I don't know, my mind always just goes back to Allegiant Part 1 where it just felt
Oh
so
God.
out of pocket, like the crazy futuristic
Oh,
beer pod things. No,
So
like
bad.
it doesn't make sense. And I just feel like, yeah, it would have just been like just over the top or straight up a horror movie. I don't know.
Yeah. But like I would have liked to it have been a horror movie. It's
No.
disturbing, it's gory, it's gross. And I think it would have been more impactful to kind of have that visualized, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they could have just taken out the kind of over the top stuff.
It's very over the top, but like I would have preferred it if they went over the top with it.
See, but then I have this whole thing with like the ethics of that. Like this is me. This is me getting on my little soapbox. Like nobody take this personally. I'm just like, for me, like reading something disturbing, I feel like is less traumatic than like seeing it, even if you know it's fake. And it's like, I have such a difficult time with horror movies for this reason because I'm like I question your intentions as like a creator, like why do you want to put this out in the world, why do you want to film this, but and it's not all aspects of horror, right? It's not every like subgenre of horror, whatever, but there's just certain things where I'm like, was this really needed? Is this just shock value? Like it's not adding anything to it. Like I get what you're saying, like and that's why like I feel like when you read it it has that impact and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. But like seeing it, I don't know that it's necessary. And then I would just be like, why are you putting this into a film? I have a strange relationship with like violence and like graphic content in films.
No, I agree with you.
It makes me
And-
think of like, oh, sorry, I don't want to
No,
cut you off.
it's just that's pretty much where I was at. Like it's very much like how Squid Game was like the most popular show on Netflix, and it was like
Oh,
the hype, so
Definitely.
much hype around that was specifically just about how violent it is, which felt
Yeah.
very on the nose for me about what the whole point of Hunger Games is. And I'm like, is this necessary, or are you just doing this for like the shock entertainment value, which in my opinion cheapens the whole message behind it, if that's what you're commenting on.
I
A whole
would
debate we
argue
can
though.
have. Like,
I would argue though that that's like, yes, this whole series has been very gory and violent, but it hasn't reached to the level that it has until this point. And I think that Suzanne kind of means to prove a point of how gory and violent society is and like life is in general, just by describing these sort of situations. I think that she has a point in saying all of this, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, in the books it makes total sense for me. In the books I have no issues. That my ethics thing comes up when it's a film and it's like a Hollywood production movie, because I feel like I don't have any science background or anything, so I could just be talking out of my butt here. Someone look this up. But I feel like from like a psychological standpoint, reading about something versus seeing it are very different experiences.
Yeah, like
I
you don't
agree
want
with
that.
people to be like seeing things visual desensitizes you, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you think it reminds me of like reading this part of Mockingjay? I kept thinking about like Saving Private Ryan, which is
Oh yes. Disturbing.
yeah, it's a movie I really enjoyed. I hated watching, and it's very intense and like very gory, probably the most gory like war film that I've seen, but I feel like it does a good job. Like I felt awful watching it. Like wow, this is
Yeah.
this is what war is really like. This is awful. I don't know. I feel like that movie did it well, and I feel like Mockingjay could have been similar in that way. But yeah, I mean, you don't want people to focus on the wrong things in the film, and I don't think it does. It's not gratuitous in any way. So I think it did its job.
It did. And then we get to the next blog with this theme.
Oh, the seam opening up in the ground.
It's like, what the heck? Like, come on, Suzanne, just keep going.
I definitely checked out at
Here.
this. The first time I read it, I was already confused by the politics of Mockingjay. And then I got here and I was like, I don't even know where we are. Like, which way is north? Am I standing on my feet? Are we upside down? Are we in the upside down? Like, where are we? What's going on here?
I can't visualize this at all. I tried
No.
so hard, even like reading it this time to try and picture it, and like I just couldn't really.
I mean, I couldn't imagine like the oil situation either, and yet Francis Lawrence kind of did that in like a specific way. I think that this could have been done in a movie in a very specific way. Like I have a good image of like what this would look like. I just think it is too out there to kind of put in a movie.
Yeah.
This whole scene.
Especially with the whatever dark shadow mutations are at the
That's
bottom
weird.
of
Yeah, that was
Like,
weird.
what?
That was so weird.
It's like
It's
the
like,
rats
are
from Greg
we
Revere.
opening a path to hell, or
What in the Demogorgon's
What's
going on?
going on?
The whole street like situation, I like the idea of it. Like if they were just to like have like the streets just go like this and like go down into like some sort of pit, I would have been like,
A
all right,
trap.
cool.
type of thing?
But
Yeah.
but like the whole like creatures at like the bottom of this pit that are like reaching out. It's like, what's going on here?
It's
What,
like an alligator pit or something, like of a villain
Yeah,
that like you get dropped into.
Is Suzanne in therapy? Like, what's going on here?
This is where I'm grateful that this was not translated to film, because I feel
Yeah.
like this is where we would have lost tons of people. This would have been very goofy very quickly.
Oh, I agree with you, but at the same time, like, I feel like there's a good way to like make this realistic. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, I feel like somebody could have done this in some sort of way that would have made this look cool.
Just cut out the
They are.
monsters at the bottom. Just have like a
The
big pit.
monsters.
That's fine. Pit, yeah. Or have pit, and then you can hear something and you don't see what it is, and do like that whole
Mhm.
horror of like you don't see, you don't know what it is. Like that, I feel like could have been okay maybe, but I don't know. I also feel like in a film, when you start throwing too many things in the same pot,
Yeah.
people are like, I don't know
It's
which
a lot.
you know.
That's why I'm
It is-
glad
it-
because sorry. You
No,
go.
please go ahead.
I was just
Jerry.
saying that I'm glad that they decided to make it more realistic because it's just like what a real war would be like, you know,
Mhm.
just fighting in the streets, gunfire and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they wanted they wanted the capital to look like, you know, Nazi Germany or communist Russia
I agree.
during the war.
And then Gil gets taken away, which thank God.
No.
She doesn't shoot him.
I'm here
Oh
for it.
no.
Ken, they should have shot him right when she had the chance. It's fine.
True.
Well,
Listen,
she
he was begging for it.
well, she thought he was saying go, so
That's true.
yeah.
Same thing, right? Shoot me and go. Same thing.
Yeah,
I totally get how that's a sound alike.
yeah.
She heard what she wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Selective hearing.
And she says on 344, I fall into a doorway to stinging my eyes. Shoot me. That's what he was mouthing. I was supposed to shoot him. That was my job. That was
Oh.
our unspoken promise. All of
Uh.
us to one another. Oh God, this is so sad. I didn't want to do it, and now the Capitol will kill him or torture him or hijack him, or the cracks begin to open beside me, threaten to break me into pieces. I only have one hope. That's the Capitol falls. Oh, it's so sad. But lays me down in arms and gives up his prisoners before they hurt Gale. But I can't see what's happening while Snow's alive. This whole scene is so there's so much that happens in this one chapter. It's insane.
Yeah.
And the
Then,
whole
uh-oh. I'm just thinking about what's happening next, is what I'm thinking about.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
I think they do. I think they do. This scene is one of my favorite scenes in Mockingjay Part 2, like the movie. The score, the whole running into the city circle situation, and the bombing. It's so good. It's so good.
Mhm.
Even though it's awful, but it's still so good. She goes into the city circle.
I kind of wish in the movie you see the crowd up by the gates, and they're like, bring the children forward. So it almost seems a little bit more like they are gonna let the kids in.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, she approaches the mansion and they're like all already kind of there, and it's more clear that they're
It's a
just
huge-
standing there like a shield.
shield.
Like they've just been there, like they're guarding
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that is an important, like, distinct difference.
Which I'm kind of glad that they did that difference, honestly. Like in the movie, I think it makes more sense than in the book.
In the book, it was a little bit more explicit of what was like going on.
Yeah.
And with the movie, I'm not sure it would have been conveyed all too well.
Yeah. She says like on 345, I think I'm aware that the concrete barricade is about 4 feet high and extends at a large rectangle in front of the mansion. You would think it'd be empty, but it's packed with refugees. Maybe this is the group that's been chosen to be sheltered in the mansion. But as I draw closer, I notice something else. Everyone inside the barricade is a child, toddlers to teenagers, scared and frostbitten, huddled in groups and rocking numbly on the ground. They are being led into the mansion. They're penned in, guarded on all sides by peacekeepers. It's messed up.
Mhm.
It's totally messed up.
It's just so interesting how Snow continues to use children, like from the Hunger Games, and how children are used to this, how he's using children. Like his mind is so twisted and smart.
Sejanus rolling in his grave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
I mean, I read when I read this when I was like a 13, 14-year-old, this disturbed me. This whole part like absolutely I mean, a lot of y'all are younger than me, so I can't imagine how you were when you read this part for the first time, but like this absolutely bothered me. That all these kids died, and then we go to Prim, and that was just it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. It made me realize that like to an extent that like death is inevitable, I guess.
Her little like ducktail moment too.
Oh
Like that
God. Oh
callback and
God.
how it's the same as like she sees that just like she saw at the reaping, and that's what kind of like snaps her into action.
Yes. The children are the human shield, she says. The rebels. They must have broken through. The momentum slams me into a flagpole, and I cling to it, using the rope that hangs me from the top. I pull myself up from the crush of the bodies. Oh God, it's so sad. And then when she goes, I scan the area for the pods that will surely be detonating, but that doesn't happen. This is what happens. And she
This is what
describes the whole,
happens. It was an
Oh.
interesting
like-
way to phrase that.
literally, it's
Like, here we
that-
go, buckle in.
honestly, and it's not even, it's a page and a half, or like, I guess a full page if you were to count the whole thing. A hovercraft marked with the capital steel materializes directly over the barricaded children. I'm sorry that I'm just like reading this. Like,
No, go ahead.
I think it's so good. This is gripping storytelling. Scores of silver parachutes rain down on them. Even in the chaos, the children know what the silver parachutes contain: food, medicine, gifts. They eagerly scoop them up, frozen fingers, which is very upsetting to me, frozen fingers, because they're just out there in the winter. That part always gets me. Struggling with the strings, the hovercraft vanishes. 5 seconds pass, and about 20 parachutes simultaneously explode. It's upsetting. And the description afterwards,
The start of the next paragraph, like
the undersized
gets
body
me.
parts.
this part, many of the children die immediately, but others lie in agony on the ground.
On the ground.
Some stagger around mutely, staring at the remaining silver parachutes in their hands as if they still might have something precious inside. Like,
So sad.
why she gotta do it like this?
I hate to curse on this podcast, but what the fuck, Suzanne?
Seriously.
Like, what's going through your mind here? Are you okay? And the fact that, like, she says, I can tell the peacekeepers don't know this is coming by the way that they were yanking away from the barricades, making it past to the children. Another flock of white uniforms sweeps through the opening. Oh God. But these aren't peacekeepers, they're medics, rebel medics. I know that these uniforms everywhere, they swarm among the children wielding medical kits. This whole thing is so upsetting.
Just that her
For a
last
second-
act is like giving up her jacket for a child.
Ugh,
Is what
Holly.
makes me sad.
God,
Did not do
Holly. First, I get a glimpse of the blonde braid down her neck. Then she yanks off her coat to cover wailing child. I noticed the ducktail that formed in the untucked shirt. I had the same reaction that I did the same day that Effie called her name at the reaping. At last, I go limp because I find myself at the base of the flagpole, unable to count the last few seconds. Then I'm pushing through the crowd just as I did before, trying to shout her name above the roar. I'm almost there, almost to the barricade. This part kills me, when I think she hears me, because just for a moment she catches the sign of me and her lips for my name, and that's when the rest of the parachutes go off. It's
Ugh.
I never got to this part of the book The book just ends before this for me.
Yeah, same.
Honestly,
It ended before
honestly,
Finnick died, so
Yeah,
It's fan fiction.
all fanfic at this point.
It's awful. But I mean, that scene in Mockingjay Part 2 is like one of my favorite scenes. I'm gonna be honest.
How?
It's
In what way?
It's awful.
because we've
But
come
I
full
think it's-
circle, isn't it lovely?
honestly, it's a very well done scene, and they think that like even with like the whole fantastical elements that happen in the book, like the streets opening up and swallowing people, and like the beams that melt people's skin and all that stuff. Francis Lawrence does a good job with it, and it's the whole Prim bomb death bit is. I think it's very good. I think it's very impactful, even if it's awful, and I hate seeing it. I think it's one of the best scenes in the movie.
Well,
Womp womp.
Mom, mom.
That's all, folks.
well, on
Yep.
that note,
Well,
that's all.
where's like the Bugs Bunny? That's all, folks.
We need something
Who-
happier.
Who else has anything to say about Prim's death? Anybody?
I want
just-
someone to make an edit of that scene, and then it cuts to the Bugs Bunny. That's all, folks. And then it's like boom credits. Like that's it.
That's
And-
awful.
And the end.
I love it. Somebody make that edit.
Well, yeah. I don't know what else to say.
This is so depressing.
Now it's
Listen,
on,
this
we're on
is-
camera, so we're just staring at each other.
Just like, yeah. Mhm.
This is going to be a depressing episode either way. It's fun.
Here we
This
are.
gets better from here.
Does it?
Marginally.
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah, I
going to
guess.
do a Are we going to do a ballad read through after this?
Yeah, it'll make us happier, right?
Make us so happy. I love ballad is just like
The
best
happiest.
romantic novel.
Yeah.
It's my favorite romance
Manipulation.
novel.
It's a beautiful
better
love
than
Contemporary
story.
romance. Well, sweet. Does anyone else have anything? I don't know what else to do.
No, 'cause we ended it on a fabulous note, on a great note.
Yeah.
What
we
else
will.
is there to say?
We have a new episode coming out this weekend.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that. It's a fun one. It's all about traditions in the Hunger Games world.
I'm here for it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. So check
I'll
out that.
incorporate all of them into my life. Just watch the episode and take it as a tutorial.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
what you do. Yes. We'll see. Is that it for tonight? Anyone have anything else to
I
cheer
think
anyone
so.
else?
let's hope for some maybe ballad news at some point this week.
Yes,
hopefully.
that's good.
Yeah.
I
That's
doubt
good.
it, but
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, but
It's gonna happen tomorrow.
hopefully.
Yep, tomorrow.
Yeah, Jerry
Yeah.
said so.
Yeah,
A little
tomorrow.
it's
trailer.
got to be true.
Hmm
I hope
HG
so.
fanboy.
Tomorrow is the anniversary of Catching Fire, so gotta celebrate.
People are posting today on Twitter that they're like, "Oh, it's the anniversary of Catching Fire," and I'm like, "It's not today; it's tomorrow." But like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, they could be in another
Big
country
fan.
where it's later or something. Or maybe
True.
it already came
Mhm.
out in their country.
I was gonna say it's the Europeans. I always blame them.
Okay. Well, sweet. I guess we'll see you all next week for the next chapters.
Woo! Happy Thanksgiving.
Woo!
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Depressing
Happy
stuff.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.